Hey, what's happening? Welcome to the Off Air Podcast. This is Pittsfield and the Berkshire's premier podcast. Premier.
Yes.
We were off last week, so we're happy to be back on. I'm Slater, and that's Marjo.
Hello.
We're also on the radio locally here on 95.9. Got a great guest for you guys today. Cam Cunningham. He is the city councilor for Ward 2. He also works for General Dynamics Mission System, which is a big, huge defense contractor. Talking nuclear submarines, bro.
Yeah, big employer here in Pittsfield and Berkshire County. We had Cam on the show when he was running for city council, as we do all of the contested candidates. And yeah, we talked to him back in probably October, late September, early October or something. So he's back.
Yeah, young dude. And we're going to get into that. Plus the housing issue, Allegrone just purchased the big, huge old bank building on the corner of North and East. They're going to turn that into housing.
Yeah.
They are doing the Wright building right now, turning that into housing and retail. They also own the Anota building. They also own the Howard building, where you used to work out. So we're going to get into retail space. We're going to talk about market value versus affordable housing in general, value of homes and stuff like that. But speaking of defense, you saw the piece on Lenco with the Bearcat?
I did. I did not read all of it, but I kind of skimmed it because I read it as reporting on a story that somebody else had done, so it was kind of a secondhand story. Yeah.
I saw it on Boston.com that it was basically they called Lenco the face of ICE, which I thought was unfair. They just obviously provide it's very unfair. They provide the armored vehicles for all military.
I believe so. I mean, that's what the company does is it makes, vehicles for law enforcement and the military. So I can't speak to all or not, but yeah, I mean, I think that headline was a little unfair, and I think saying they're the largest receiver of ICE contracts and things like that in the state. Well, it's Massachusetts. We're not there's not a ton of industries similar to them in Massachusetts. So, I try not to speak on things I don't know a ton about, but I do know that Lenco employs a ton of people here in Pittsfield and Berkshire County. I know the family that owns that is very invested in Pittsfield and Berkshire County as a whole. And I also know there are lots of examples of when you can use Bearcats that save people's lives. After the Boston Marathon bombing, I remember that being a big one. The day they arrested the kid who was responsible, they used a Bearcat. Yeah. So there's been plenty of times when Bearcats have also helped save people's lives as well. But I get that there's a larger conversation there, right? And I think somebody brought it up to Governor Maura Healey when she was in town recently. Again, I just don't know enough about it to speak on it. But what I do know about Lenco is that I think they're a great part of the economy here in the Berkshires, and we're lucky to have them.
Yeah, no, I agree. Cam Cunningham, everybody. What's up?
You want to weigh in on that?
Yeah, I brought it up because you're in defense as well. Did you see this story?
Oh, yeah, I've seen it. I don't necessarily say it's comparable to defense. It's law enforcement, and I think it only is getting the attention right now because of the current events.
Oh, totally.
I don't think anyone really heavily disputes police having armored vehicles. I think there was a bank robbery once where the robbers had bulletproof vests and rifles, and the cops, all they had were revolvers, and they were just getting trounced. And so I don't think anyone really disagrees. You got to eventually have
Well, I don't think anybody's disagreeing with them going to police departments, but it's the fact that it's this ICE agency that we just don't know that much about, that it's not the same as a regular police department. I don't think people have an issue with them selling to local law enforcement or to law enforcement. I think it's the association with ICE that's really getting people.
Right. So as city councilor, I'll say, someone will build them. They're just trucks with steel on them. Anyone can really do it. Lenco's been doing it. Lenco's, contributed taxes to the city. They contribute jobs to the area, people to the city. Someone will do it. And it's kind of an unfortunate reality, but I'm of the opinion that you got to be realistic. And you can't always go off of ideals.
I say defense because they're used in the military, in Iraq and stuff.
I think so. Yeah, I don't. Who actually?
I
builds
say
a
Iraq
vehicle?
and stuff. That was like 20 years ago.
Anywhere, like yeah, they're just armored cars. Like someone will.
Yes.
They're just welding certain steel onto a truck. Like someone will. I don't want to disparage the work they do, but it's I think big on craftsmanship is important to like not let a bolt through a crack in the welding. But really, it's not an advanced circuit or technology that it's something that someone couldn't up and do if Lenco said we're not going to serve this market need. There'll be just another business that'll do it.
Right. It felt like shameful. Like it felt like they were shaming Lenco. That's sort of the angle that I understood it to be, but we don't have to.
It's election season.
Yeah.
Rhetoric's going to ramp up.
Yeah, so you work for GD, and so that's General Dynamics Mission System here in Pittsfield, Massachusetts. Mm-hmm. And you guys build submarines?
Yes.
It's sort of like it's
Kinda.
contracted by the U.S. government. So there's a lot of things we don't know about, and it's right here.
Right.
How many people work there or are in the building at one time?
Just to preface, so I don't get yelled at by my employer, I don't speak for GD, but I can give you kind of like my guesses or my understanding having worked there. One of our other subsidiary companies builds the physical boat, similar to like how, people will build the physical truck and put tech on, and then some other company puts the tech on it or the guns on it or whatever. Lenco builds the truck. I don't think they put anything else on it. And then we don't build the sub. We build computers that like go in the sub. And there's a decent bit of people. There's like 1,400 based out of Pittsfield. That includes like some sites around the state. There's like 2,400 total GD employees in the state, decent bit towards Boston, and like maybe 1,000 in Pittsfield that like work in the facility, give or take a couple hundred. Like I said, I don't know exact figures.
General Dynamics is always a name that comes up when we're talking about employment in Berkshire County. And specifically when we talk about Berkshire County and Pittsfield aging, when we talk about trying to bring young people to the area, General Dynamics is always, without fail, a name that comes up.
Second biggest employer.
Yeah. Did they recruit you? Like, how did you...
They came to my career fair in college, and, I came here because of the mission. Being in defense, people are really into the mission. Mm-hmm. And the history of kind of what's been at all those facilities isn't just General Dynamics. There was like a Lockheed there, Martin Marietta, going back a decent bit to General Electric, who also did defense stuff. I found it really interesting. I had an offer from like Lockheed Martin in Syracuse. Mm-hmm. I was looking at a lab out in New Mexico. So I really liked the mission. I really liked the city. And then the program that I got in was just a good career thing. And it really serves my personality and my interests.
What's the mission?
The mission is, the nuclear subs. Nuclear deterrence is kind of the mission, is to keep everyone safe by having a incredibly effective system that will work every single time. That's like the point.
See the way you said that?
Every single time.
You're an easy sell, Slater.
So,
little emphasis on that.
Yeah, you want to buy one? Kidding.
Every time.
There was something too. The way you said that, it's funny.
Every single time. It's a nuclear system. It's intended not, a big saying we have is, how often do we use nuclear weapons? How many times are they used? Every single day. Because
are they?
The stated point of them is to deter a nuclear attack, to deter war. If you look at, since World War II, war has been steadily declining. The amount of casualties worldwide in any war has been going down, and it's only gone up from the Ukraine war. But largely, nuclear weapons have been credited as deterring most major wars, almost every single major war.
I imagine other technological advances too, right?
Medicine's gotten better, which reduces deaths. But, and then drones are kind of changing some of the math on casualties. But largely, people don't fight big wars because now they are so costly, it's better to negotiate. It's always better to negotiate. I mentioned before the show, I'm into geopolitics. There's a show I watch, William Spaniel, he's a doctor in geopolitics. And he says this lines on map theory, where you can trade land, you can trade money for not fighting a war. Like there's always a more preferable option. And the only reason you will fight a war is if there's a substantial bargaining friction, like some reason why you can't. Like, say, for instance, the Russia-Ukraine war. Why is that war being fought? If they really wanted to, it'd be cheaper for both to just give them the land and not fight, right? There's some complications there, but largely you can equate land to economic damage and people's lives. it's not popular to say, but that's what generals do. That's what the NATO does, is they equate so many acres of land to people's lives.
Unbelievable. It's that raw.
It's just how it is.
Jeez,
It's tough to be, and we can get, I mentioned I like to connect concepts. It can tough to be a decision maker because you need to come to the reality of how power dynamics work. But you largely, if wars are incredibly costly, it makes even more sense to negotiate. And so we almost never fight wars anymore, because if you really go to bat, nuclear weapons are always on the table, and you just rather negotiate.
You said that nuclear weapons are used every single day?
That's the saying, because
they're not fired, but they're used as a deterrent just merely because they exist?
Yep.
Okay.
Their stated purpose is to deter. Deterrence is a great concept to learn. Can be flowed down from nuclear weapons down to why do we not steal? You're deterred from it because you're worried about the consequences.
So Putin just wants that land, yeah? I mean, was it part of the Soviet Union back in the day, or I'm sort of...
I could comment on my thoughts on it. They think NATO is a threat to their existence. There's, dispute on kind of some agreements between NATO and Russia that haven't been upkept by NATO, and so Russia feels they're up against the wall and they have to do something. We said we wouldn't let Ukraine into NATO, and then they kind of started looking at it like that. Different presidents don't keep up certain deals. I think there was deals made back with like Clinton that then Bush didn't keep up, and Bush made deals that Obama didn't keep up, and it keeps, they kick the can down, and the next guy's like, I didn't make that deal, and then they'll just violate it. And so then Russia, which has been Putin since like Clinton, I think like 20 something years, he's like, I've been screwed by every U.S. president. I'm, kind of fed up, and I don't trust you. And so they felt like it was necessary. There's a lot more complexities and theories behind it, but if I were to kind of sum it up, that'd be it. And Ukraine doesn't have nukes, so they have to rely on, in theory, a Western nuclear umbrella, which is not afforded to them because they're not in NATO. And you can't let them be, or else they're right on your doorstep. That's the complexities. You can really get into it.
Yeah.
I love geopolitics. You can really get into it.
Yeah. When you say this stuff to your girlfriend, what does she say?
She asks questions.
Yeah.
And she's really good at egging me on. Sometimes she'll tell me to just like, okay, shut up. But sometimes, she gets into it. My mom, I'll go to dinner with her and we'll just talk geopolitics. Because you can watch the news, and this is big on a lot of things. This is about understanding. When you watch the news, you can look at it like, why are they attacking Ukraine? I thought we were all chill. Why is the U.S. not nuking them for attacking? Like, when you really understand the intricacies and what's going on and the whys, it gets really interesting, because it helps you understand the world we're in and why decision makers make decisions they do.
Where do you get, obviously you seem very well versed on it. Like, where do you get most of what media sources do you use to trust? Because that's something people say all the time. I want to understand what's going on in the world. I want to understand what's going on locally, whatever, but I don't know who to believe.
Right.
Like, what are you watching at nighttime? What are you consuming?
Open source information. It's called OSINT, Open Source Intelligence. Just stuff posted on Instagram, videos you see on Reddit, things you can just kind of see on YouTube. Like, people will compile them, and if you spread your sources out, and I had a U.S. history teacher in high school that hammered this. If you spread your sources out, you will get a much better picture. But if you only consume one source of media, if you only consume Fox News or you only consume CNN, you're going to eventually follow their narrative.
Of course. Yeah.
Even sometimes I can feel myself following the narrative of this one guy that I listen to on YouTube, and I have to watch another thing that gives another input, and I kind of weigh the two. Mm-hmm. But if I only listen to one, that's what I feel is fact. Until I listen to something different, you're just going to implicitly believe it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you kind of have to balance it out yourself.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Absolutely. It's incredibly important, and I think it's lost lately.
No, I couldn't agree with you more.
Can I do a quick story time?
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
When I would
all story time.
When I was in high school, I had a teacher. His name was Kurt Wheeler. He was the mayor of the town. He was a Marine colonel, past Marine colonel. He was a historian. So he's big on just history, and naturally he taught my U.S. history class. It was an hour-and-a-half class, and he would start every class with at least 30 minutes of reading the news. We had this big projector board, and on it he had, we'd walk in and it would be CNN. We'd read it. We'd read the article about, whatever big story is that week. This was 2016, right when Trump was starting to get fired up and politics was starting to get set on fire. So there was always something new. We read the Constitution in class, dissected it. And so then we started going through the news and he'd be like, what do you guys think? And reading only one source, you had an opinion of the class. And he goes, okay, let's see what Fox News has to say. Let's see what MSNBC has to say. Let's see what Associated Press has to say. Let's see what Twitter has to say. And we'd go through these different sources and you could see the opinion of the class shift. Like, wait a minute.
Well, that's how we base our opinions, right? Is on the information that we're receiving.
Right. But if you don't practice that and you don't like seek out the different sources, you will eventually echo chamber. And that's how we get a lot of extremism.
Yeah.
Even at the local level, you'll see it. If you only consume, what one person has to say and you only stick to this narrative, when you go to actually understand, once you understand what's going on, you see the nuance. And even in the election, I bought into some of the more dissident opinions. And then now that I'm in the council and I am one of the decision makers and I get to see all the information, I have completely different opinions. And I try to bring that culture of nuance to the city.
So it's funny, the media has turned into people self-reporting, right? And they upload their videos onto video platforms like X and Instagram and TikTok and YouTube and stuff. So how I found out about what was happening in Mexico was I saw a video on X.
Literally, me too.
And I was like, wow, look at that. A school bus is on fire. A car is on fire. Oh my God, there's a building on fire. There's people running out of the airport. And then I put on Fox News was reporting, and they had the map up of Mexico, and then they had all the colors in red and stuff, and they were sort of took the angle like, you should be afraid, where the guy on X was sort of like, here's what's happening. And then I think what did we watch this, because Marjo is sort of, I don't know. The answer is I don't know if I would travel to Mexico right now. I went, when was I there? A year ago, 6 months ago?
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, Playa del Carmen or whatever. And then the resort, we felt totally safe on the resort. I felt totally safe. But we were talking to one of the waiters, and they were like, "Oh yeah, well you shouldn't go here, or I wouldn't go there, or But if you do, wear your wristbands, because tourism is so important to us here. They're not going to mess with you if we know you're a tourist."
Yeah. I don't think your life is in danger, but you're definitely going to get. People trying to sell you stuff.
This was not like they're going to like harm you. This was spot on. Yeah, they're going to sell you stuff.
Yeah.
But would you travel to Mexico right now?
Probably not.
Probably
not. Not because if I leave the country, it's a little more complicated. Okay. Because of my clearance. But
well, if you didn't work for GD,
probably I have family that's going. It's not really like you said, it's like
it's just interesting to me how we receive information and process it and come up with an opinion and such. I'm fascinated by the difference of that.
Yeah, if that's all you see and that's all you hear, then you're gonna eventually believe it, right? Because you don't know. It's like you don't know any better.
Yeah. And I've got to check myself sometimes. Be like, listen, you need to, do the best job you can of discerning the truth, what's happening.
Yeah.
Like for example, did you see the snowball video in New York City? They were this group of people throwing snowballs at cops.
Oh yeah, I saw it.
Yeah. I had mentioned it to a coworker today, and the first question was, "Are you sure that's not AI?" And I'm like, yes, right. It's not AI.
Why? I think that's a very logical question for people to ask in
nowadays,
2026. You saw a video on the internet and somebody asked you if it was AI. Why is that a wild question to ask you?
Because you see multiple publications of the same video.
But maybe maybe that person didn't, right? You said you
right,
brought
but I'm telling the person about the video.
Well, your response to them was very like, "Oh, you got to ask if it's AI."
Because my perception of this person is they didn't want to believe that it was true. So that was a sort of reaction. Oh, are you sure it's not AI?
So that's your internalized perception to their question, which their question's a very real question to ask in 2026.
Right.
A video you saw on the internet, are you sure it's not AI? That's a very real question. But I think you internalize that as them just not wanting to believe it.
Yes.
Yeah.
You got to be careful though. I would I saw like a deer jumping on a trampoline, and I love deer. Yeah, I sent it to my girlfriend, and I'm like, "This is hilarious." And then, because you can send it in like that,
yeah, of course.
And then I watched for like a second longer.
And you're like,
wait
"Damn it.
a minute."
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. It's a very real question to ask somebody.
Yeah. Before you believe anything, you should probably ask yourself it, because you never know.
Yeah.
And this is a low stakes one, like throwing snowballs at cops.
Yeah.
But you never know.
Well, I saw one. This was a still, and there was a picture of a traffic jam in New York City, and it was like traffic's at a standstill with the snowstorm. Immediately, at first you're like, huh, and then if you zoom in, there's a building that says New York City on the side. Okay, obviously AI. There's no building in New York City that says New York City on the side.
Yeah.
Right.
Or the fire truck says fire truck on it.
It's not hard. If
so
you take
some-
the extra step, it's not hard to figure out what's AI and what's not. I mean, don't get me wrong. The videos are getting better and better.
They are. Yes.
But there's usually going to be indications. Just like if a kid's trying to use, ChatGPT to write their assignment. Like teachers are getting smart or wise as to, these indicators.
One of the things is the dash on
M dash.
Yes. M dash.
I was really big into history class and English class. English is my favorite subject. Even like I know how to use it, and even still, I don't use it nearly as
The M
much as
dash.
I've seen it since AI.
Yeah.
Like I can pick someone
You
out.
can replace it with a comma, yeah?
Not always. I think in theory, 2 commas sometimes.
Yes.
It reads
Yeah.
different.
Yeah.
You can tell when people speak too, like when they're talking, like reading something, or even just like they sound like they're renouncing it. It's not just the M dash. It's like sentence structure and patterns. Like it's not this, it's that.
Yeah.
Like that's really powerful. It used to be a really powerful way
and
of
all that. Yeah, totally.
It used to be a really powerful way of speaking, but like some of these conventions have been so reused that if you say it, it's like write for yourself.
Yeah.
My perception of nuclear war is awful. Like just awful.
Should be.
Like if
Well, because the only thing we know about it is from
like Hiroshima,
Right.
And then Terminator 2. You ever seen
we're
Terminator
talking
2?
about real life.
No, I haven't.
Real
I
life.
have not, but I've watched Fallout. If you ever watch that.
Well, there's Judgment Day is when the nuclear bomb goes off and everything burns up, and then 2,500 miles. Nuclear. Like you've seen the Chernobyl special on HBO.
No, I gotta watch it.
Okay,
I gotta
very,
watch it.
very,
It's
very
really
good.
good.
Yeah.
I mean,
No, nuclear war is awful. Like, I don't think anyone disagrees with that. Even an interesting thing is the Hiroshima and the Nagasaki bombs were so crude, though, that they had a high amount of radiation and
Yes.
a really low yield for their material. Economics of the weapons have made people want to make them smaller, use less material, be more efficient, have a higher yield for less material, which in turn creates less radiation. So the whole you're gonna have mutant dogs roaming the surface isn't necessarily as true as if you've detonated 1,000 1946 bombs that are old and crude, you'll have a lot of radiation, but modern ones are pretty efficient, to the point where they had to designate dirty bomb is the crude version that is meant to have radiation, whereas nowadays radiation means you didn't detonate all your material as much as you should have, and so it's not as efficient.
Okay.
It's an interesting thing. So, yay, yields are bigger, so less radiation, right?
Right.
so how does your job and your interest in geopolitics trickle down to housing? I
mentioned that.
in your city council position.
I was like, man, I should have a podcast because I learned these things that you would think are trivia. I've always hated trivia. I hate just knowing facts. I love knowing concepts because I've found the people I mesh with the best are people who can take a concept from something and apply it to something unrelated. How does deterrence work with North Street? How does the concept of nuclear deterrence, how can you apply that to North Street? Not saying nuke North Street, but how can you work to make thieves or people causing trouble feel deterred from doing what they're going to do? That's the whole point of nuclear weapons, is to make it don't start war or the costs will be too great. Don't commit crimes or the police will catch you and you'll go to jail and the costs are too great. It's the same concept, deterrence. Other concepts, like going into housing, you can start talking business case, just like in wars. People aren't going to do something if it costs too much. I guess the corollary when you're trying to make money is people aren't going to do something if they're not going to make money. And so you start to get into this housing discussion of, how do you build housing when the money's not there to be worth doing it?
I think theoretically I follow what you're saying, but like on a local level, just something as simple as crime with deterrence. Obviously, if you're homeless and you're committing a crime, jail is not a big enough deterrent for you to, you know what I mean? So I think I understand that the concept could be applied, but clearly the deterrents that we have in place aren't effective enough, right?
Those are called edge cases. Like, that's why we're so worried about rogue nations with dictators having nuclear weapons, because when the dictator's failing, he has nothing to lose. And then deterrence fails and they let it off. If you have people who it doesn't help them to put them in jail, right? You don't have that same effect, deterrence fails. And so then what do? I wish I had answers. That's something we're working on in the council.
Yeah.
But, you can still have that effect because, the problems on North Street are not just homeless. I would say homeless, admittedly, are less than the majority. Socioeconomics correlates to crime. I think everyone kind of knows that.
Of course.
But not exactly. I would bet, I wish we had a whiteboard. Because I love graphs. I love numbers.
Sure.
I love graphs. I love numbers. But you would think it'd be a straight line. Like the poorer you are, the more crime that'll be committed in that community, right? In theory. But I think you get to this edge case where it falls off, where people have nothing, and it actually makes them better people a lot of times. Like monks sometimes have they have a bowl and a spoon. Like, why would I have the spoon? I have a bowl. And I could just use my hands. And so I'd bet you that the homeless population does not commit as much crime as other spaces in that line. And then you can also start talking about what kind of crime. Misdemeanor, violent crime, white collar crime. Then is more like I'm not going to try to draw it in the air, but it's a completely different graph. So it's a complex discussion. And so just, applying one concept as a blanket statement doesn't work. I'm not saying it does. But what lessons can we take on those and try to apply as many of these concepts that work in certain cases, because certain concepts will work in certain cases. How do you deal with the edge cases? How do you deal with the main case? Things like that.
When people hear the phrase or the sentence, there's a housing issue in Berkshires, there's a housing issue in Pittsfield, I hear low income housing.
Oh yeah. Okay. And that's where the rhetoric's always
Do you hear that? Or do you hear both?
I hear both, because I know people who are my age, maybe a little bit younger, good jobs, 2 incomes, in theory should have enough to, they're not low income, but they can't buy a house because they're getting priced up, because houses that should go for $300,000 are going for $500 because the inventory is so low. So yeah, I'm like, maybe I hear more about certainly with like downtown and things like that. Yeah, low income housing, but I think it's across the board. I think it's most price ranges you're looking at are having issues finding out.
Just because I just didn't think that was that much work here, and you say that's not true.
I'm of the opinion.
Wait, hold on. Let me just ask. I thought we were talking about housing. And you're saying there's a housing shortage because there's not enough work here? I'm confused.
I would say
I was just trying to follow your.
When I hear housing shortage, my mind tells me low income housing. There's a shortage of that, not market rate. There's not a shortage of market rate because I didn't think that there was that many jobs that paid that well to be able to afford market rate housing.
Oh, that's interesting.
I can tell you there's at least.
Does that make sense?
It makes sense. Yes. It's just not true. There is jobs coming in that pay well.
Yeah. And I also feel like I know just as many people who can't find an apartment because they can't afford it, that can't find a house to buy, even though they're qualified for $350,000, $400,000. You know what I mean? Like I see the struggle on both sides.
Where are they staying?
What do you mean?
Like if they
they're usually renting now. They're usually first time home buyers.
Gotcha.
At least the people that I know.
So they can't buy homes.
Yes.
Not rented apartments.
Yes.
Gotcha. You told me on the phone the other day, that's the biggest myth going. There are tons of jobs that pay well here.
Yeah, and I think I need to add a nuance to that. There's an influx of youth who are going to be paid well, right? General Dynamics is growing. War is good for business. Things are popping off. The defense budget's increasing. It's going to trickle down to the contractors who need to hire more people to do more work. I think the current number that's floating around out there is like at least 100 new jobs. that are paid starting rate of 80 and up. Those are just entry-level engineers who are going to be young people like me who are here to spend money. And I think it's important to remember, like, just because you can't get that job doesn't mean that job isn't going to create more economic activity. There's a study done by Williams College that cites that just General Dynamics employees are a 1 to 4 multiplier in their community. Every one of these jobs at General Dynamics supports on average 4 jobs in the community. Waitresses, cashiers, mechanics, doctors, nurses, all across, because these people need services, right?
Of course. Money
in is money in. I bet you there's similar numbers with Lenco. I bet you there's certainly similar numbers with, BHS, the hospital. So, and this is where I like to talk about like the systems I mentioned before. There's first order effects of a business comes in and is hiring mechanics, more good paying jobs that are attainable to the average person. That is a first order effect. More engineers coming into the community, that's not necessarily creating a first order effect of more jobs for just an average person. But those jobs are creating other jobs, which is a second order effect. And I think it's very quickly lost in the rhetoric that there are second, third, fourth order effects of all these big decisions that people say. That's not directly fixing the issue I care about. Yeah, it's not. It's not directly fixing it. But a combination of these decisions around the board that align with the greater goals of the city will flow into these things happening, second, third order effects. And it won't happen instantly. When a market rate apartment is built, that's not going to create one unit of affordable housing. That's not going to decrease the cost of rent by $100 the day that the door is unlocked there. It's going to enable a high-paying job to move into the city, which right now there's actually a risk that we are losing these high-paying jobs because people are denying offers because they can't find housing, period. That's just a fact. I told the mayor and I told really anyone at 24 North, any of the state people, we are bleeding opportunity in Pittsfield. Pittsfield's on the up and coming if we can get out of our own way and get things straight and get things right and be ready to grow, but we're not ready to grow. And so that person moves into that nice apartment. That person has a nice job. That person starts shopping downtown, starts shopping around here. That shopping creates jobs, starts moving money around. And, 2, 3, 4 events later, you have another paying job. Doesn't seem like it at first, but you need to consider what's going to happen. We can't be so in need of instant solutions or instant gratification.
I think you hit the nail on the head. It's really hard for people. They're looking for something to change instantly, right, or they're looking for something to change very, very quickly. And it's just, I just don't think that's realistic.
I want to get to that because let's say the government could just instantly solve the problem. What is that going to mean? That's going to cost more money than letting the problem solve itself. Right? If you wanted a giant snowball, would you rather pack all the snow together, or would you take a small ball and roll it and let someone else do the work, gravity do the work? Or do you want to pack each hand together?
I see. Yeah.
So you can instantly solve these problems with enough government money. You can just solve them. Where you get that money is another question. But what you can do with government money is you can get the ball rolling and you can start getting private money coming in, private investment. That's what you see with housing. People are like, why are we giving $1 million or $1.8 million for this building to be made? Well, do you know how much the whole project costs? 1.8 might just be enough to make it profitable, which if you didn't give that money, it wouldn't be profitable. And on the opposite side of why war is made, no one would do it. There's no money in it. They wouldn't do it. So if you can get the ball rolling, make it profitable for them, and they dump the rest of the money in, that's multiplying your tax dollars. The trade-off is you don't instantly solve the problem. You have to wait because it's on someone else's time scale, but it still solves it. So it's about being patient and making the best use of tax dollars.
How many of the councilors agree with you on that?
I don't know how many I've really talked to kind of like this in a conceptual manner. A lot of times I'll talk to them in committee or talk to them in council about, the issue or the motion at hand. And I'll try to throw in some of these bits of like why I'm voting this way and why I feel so strongly and why you should vote for this. But really, maybe the mayor, maybe, some councilors I've met privately, I've talked to about it. But by and large, I haven't kind of come out and said, like, we should be thinking like this. It's kind of a criticism I have of the city government coming in is like, where's the vision? Where's the long-term goal, right? People seem to think there's strings being pulled and someone is pulling the strings in the city government. I can tell you for certain there's not. And I can prove it, but I can tell you for certain there's not. And that's honestly, I think one of our biggest issues is we need long-term vision and we need a strategic plan. And we need counselors to align on that and say, we should all vote for this because this solves the problem in this manner. And I think there's like some built up kind of culture to that. Some people who have like implicitly internalized that, thinks like, I get it, but no one has said that explicitly. That should be written down. Like, this is our plan. Let's move forward towards it.
Have you asked the mayor or any like tenured counselors what is your long-term plan? Like, what is your long-term vision?
Yep.
And what's the response you get?
I can't really say because I don't feel like I got much of an answer. And I'm probably going to get a comment from them just from this, that I dug them. No, it's not easy to like come up with a vision that one, people can agree on, forget about it. But to also stick to it. I see even like companies get challenged with sticking to long-term visions. Clarkson University, I was involved in their long-range planning, and they have trouble sticking to it because things come up.
Well, don't you have to, as things come up, don't you have to pivot a little bit?
Yeah, but like...
when you're talking about something long-term?
Yeah, but I just haven't seen much vision or like, what do we want the city to be? Are we in agreement on it? What's the next 10 years going to look like? Are we going to be, a shell from GD? Are we going to be the shell that GE left? Or are we going to be this great up-and-coming city with big companies like GD and the hospital and Lenco and maybe some other big companies like Elegant Stitches or this or that are starting to incubate at like the BIC. We need to put our eggs in a basket and run with it.
So what's the most important thing? I know it's very hard to simplify it, but what's the most important thing in Cam Cunningham's like long-term vision for Pittsfield?
Oh, and
what do you think
it is that easy to simplify. Economic development at any cost. You can't get out of this problem. We don't have enough money to fix every problem. Fixing problems instantly costs even more money than fixing problems with second or third order effects. We need more money and we can't keep raising taxes. I will not support a tax raise. But that vote comes with the change of we need economic development, period. I said to the state reps and to the mayor at 24 North, we need 10 more of these at least. We just need to do this. More and 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 more. We just need economic development. That's the only way out of our budget. 10 more what? 10 more housing developments.
Oh, yeah.
10 more grants from the state. 10 more people private investors putting money into the city. We need to support that because it's our only way to generate more tax revenue without raising taxes. We can't raise commercial taxes any higher, and I will not raise taxes on our people any higher. We're already the highest taxing city in the county.
So how do we get 10 more of those? Like, how do we bolster that economic development? But how?
Change the narrative, get behind them with the votes, get behind them in the strategy and the support, and spend money. You got to spend money to unlock some money. We need to change the narrative around that because a lot of people are rallying. Like, you have one side rallying, why are we building more affordable housing? And another side rallying, why are we building these market rate, expensive apartments? We need to build everything, and we need people spending their investment dollars in the city. How we do that really admittedly doesn't matter right now. Like, there's more than enough to go around for opportunity. It's not like you're putting in a market rate unit here and there's not, and that's taking the spot of an affordable unit. No, there are so many unfilled spots and unfilled buildings. You really can't go wrong. There's more than enough to go around. So
where are they?
You have all these empty warehouses. You have these plots of land you could build them.
Where are the empty warehouses?
There's some over on the west side. There's certainly some in my district around GE, but I think there's question on what you can build there.
Yep.
But there's empty buildings. There's industrial buildings in these cities.
But developers would rather develop market rate housing because it's more profitable for them than low income housing. Like, why aren't we taking these empty spaces and getting low income housing as well? Because that will cost more money. And this is back to that point. You can just solve the affordable problem like that. But if you don't have private dollars coming in, it's going to cost. Every private dollar that's not coming in is another state dollar, another city dollar, or another federal dollar that has to go to it. That's another tax dollar that has to go to it. If you're not supporting the investors willing to invest in our city, you're going to be spending more of your own money.
right? You want someone else's money.
Yeah.
And that's the crux of, I think, the problem with the narrative. It needs to be supported. And it's not popular to say, and I'm not up here to say popular things. I'm here to give the bitter medicine to help the city be what I want to stay living in, right? This is already an expensive state. And I think Pittsfield's on the ground floor to be something great if we can get behind that vision of great and articulate it.
I'm going to say this in the nicest way possible. It sounds like you think you're smarter than the current administration, basically.
The administration?
The current, the people who are guiding Pittsfield in its current direction. I really do not mean this as a negative thing. I'm just, is that what you believe? Because it really sounds like you have a very thought out solution to guide Pittsfield in this direction, and that the people who have that power now are not moving it in that direction.
I wouldn't say I'm smarter.
I really, please do not take that as me. I'm not trying to, that's just how it sounds.
I have a strong technical background, but I don't have the history like they have. I don't have the experience like they have. And I certainly wouldn't say smarter. I would say my thought process is different. My thought process is aggressive. My thought process is let's solve the problem and figure out the costs as we go, rather than whatever's going on now. I think I don't see the inside baseball of how the mayor's office and his departments work, and they seem to be churning out pretty good right now. But we need to go as fast as possible and get as much going as possible, because I know for certain we're hemorrhaging opportunity, and that opportunity is our way out of our hole.
I mean, listen, your enthusiasm for it is apparent, and your passion for it is apparent. So again, it just sounds like you have the solution, and you feel like other people are not headed in the direction that you want to head.
I mentioned off air, before we started recording, that I don't think I'm making enemies. I don't think I am. But I may be rubbing. I'm new. Sure. I'm not from the city, and I feel like I have a different way of doing things. I wanted a sign that's been put up, that was supposed to be put up at one of my sub shops in my ward, Angelina's on Dalton. And when I went in there to get a sub, and I remember being at the meeting where they passed it, and it didn't happen. And so I went to the respective department. I'm like, what's going on? And they, kind of point me towards the law. And I go, I've been waiting 4 months for this sign for my business. If there's a rule that is preventing you from putting up the sign, I don't care. I'm just going to vote to, suspend the rule. Like, forget the rule. Do what's right and let's get things moving. I don't care about the bureaucracy. Let's get the city where it needs to be. And it starts with a sign. It starts with this idea that what is holding us back from moving forward. And the more experienced counselors and the mayor may come to me and be like, we are trying, and we like your enthusiasm, because I am inexperienced and I may be talking from ignorance, but I'm of the opinion, like, let's get our foot on the gas if it's not. And if it is on the gas, please let me know so I can help.
Listen, the point of the council is to have a bunch of different ideas represented. So, I mean, nobody can fault you there at all. I think it's important for the council to be representative of all different people in Pittsfield. And you are representative of a young professional who's moved here from another, you're what Pittsfield's begging for, right?
I've talked to my girlfriend about this. One of my greatest strengths and greatest weaknesses is I see what can be. And sometimes I get wrapped up in that vision of what it can be. And that's led me down roads in my life that have not panned out well, because it never could be what I thought it could be. But it's also kept me to the grind, kept me fighting with people, fighting through problems. I call myself the wedge. I will crack a problem open and keep it wedged open on things that just may have been closed. And so I may rub people the wrong way doing that. But, I'm of the opinion that we need change, and I'm going to press on it. And I think we need every single counselor and every single person in the admin fired up for the vision of the future. Sometimes I feel like people sit too quiet. Not that they're not doing anything, but just that they're just different from how I like to get out there and just hammer the problems. Yeah. I need to fix problems. And I'll keep saying them. And you'll see me on Facebook, and I'm in the comments, saying what I want to say, saying what I feel needs to be said. Mm-hmm. And you don't usually see counselors out doing that. And I kind of see why. It can be hard to do this. There's a lot of negativity. Yeah. I try not to fight with people. I try to just kind of correct the beliefs and share my beliefs. But we got to get out there and we got to get fired up, because we can be something if we really, really try.
So let me make sure I heard you correctly. So you think the solution or you believe the solution to getting low-income housing built is investing in companies who will build market rate housing first, and that'll trickle down to build and cover the cost of low income housing, because building standalone low income housing is not profitable enough, correct? And if you were to build low income housing, that money would have to come through state and city revenue, which would require you to raise taxes.
So there's probably 2 or 3 prerequisites to before I answer that question. Number one,
But that's what I heard. Is that what you heard?
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
kinda. Let me clarify a few things. One, I don't believe Reagan economics works.
Okay, because
anything other than
that was my fault. This sounds like, Reagan trickle down stuff, but
it doesn't work at the federal level. I don't think it really works at the state, but I think at the municipal level, there's consensus that it does work because it's a small enough market to see the effects, and the people with the money are known and they are investing because they care. I've talked to investors in the city.
Yeah, because they
invest
also
'cause they
want to
care.
make money.
Yeah, that too.
I mean, both things can be true.
So there's that.
They're not doing it just out of the kindness of their heart.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, everyone needs to come to the understanding that businesses operate on a business case.
Yes.
Totally.
Right.
Couldn't agree more.
That's
of
like
course,
the point.
Of course.
But another piece I want to touch on is the affordable market, I think, dichotomy. There is affordable and there's affordable. Affordable is affordable to the market. I think the number is about $1,500 a month, which to many by their salary is not affordable. But to the market, where the math works out, that's considered affordable. And then there's the salary affordable, which I think hovers around $700 a month, is affordable to the median salary. So based on what you're benchmarking as affordable, changes what the word means. And so then getting back to the trickle down idea, what does our housing market look like? If you were to, I want you to draw a graph.
You love a graph.
I love a graph because
I'm into it. Listen, visual representation. I understand.
we're talking about big problems. And big problems need to be visualized because you can't just talk through this like you can a philosophical matter. So we're going to talk about number of apartments will be up and down, and across will be how much they cost. Let's say $0 is of course there, 1,000 a month here, 1,500 we'll say here, 2,000 and 2,500, and of course it goes up. I want you each to draw a line on how many apartments do you think we have at those price points?
Open or
just at all, just that exist. How many apartments in Pittsfield?
In the city of Pittsfield
have draw a line on what you think it is based on price
that
point.
exists, vacant and taken.
So my this side is
The number. So the higher,
okay.
So you could draw like a dot even.
I mean, I think.
And I'm just kind of looking for a shape to see, what people think.
You're looking at here, and I think you're looking at here. Here and.
I was gonna print the definitive. There's a study on this. And I was gonna print the
Don't
definitive.
copy mine. He's gonna copy mine.
I should get 2 colored pens.
I think the same.
I think what you think.
The funny thing is, he was gonna get the paper next, and he was like,
yeah.
The point is where I put my dots, as Slater is thinking, is that the majority of apartments are around that 1,500 range, 15 to 2,000 range. I think there's not a lot less than that, and I don't think there's a ton more than that either. But that's just I haven't rented in years.
And so this is the work that I will go out and say this. The council doesn't do this. The amount of times I've been to meetings or committees where a presenter will bring up a graph, and it feels like councilors put their hands up. It's like, guys, we're solving big problems, and the numbers matter because the numbers are really the only way to know
somebody
if you're
comes in
solving
and
it.
puts a graph up, and they just don't respond to it, or they don't understand it. What do you mean?
I've heard from counselors go, once you started talking math or once I saw the graph, I didn't, I checked out.
Gotcha. Interesting.
All right. So this is what we got. Oh, that's about right. You guys are about right. Did you go off of my mention of this? This is about the.
No, I just thought that there was more in that and less on the far right.
These are about right. Right. It's about a
Who's more
bell
right?
curve.
I'm just kidding.
Who's more right?
It doesn't matter.
Me.
It does. Whoever drew this line, I think is more correct.
That's me.
Oh yeah, definitely. Because this is so that's about what it looks like, and this is how many we need. We need this many units, right? It's not really writing well,
Yeah.
but that's what we need. So then anything below the line is a deficit, right? We have a deficit in affordable units, right? This one hits about like $700, right about there on the axis, right? We have a deficit of truly affordable, and we have a deficit of what I would call, and is not a popular political term, but luxury units.
That's what I would have called it too. Well, I also think that's because if you can afford a luxury unit and you're in Berkshire County, you're probably just going to buy a house.
No.
Unless you just don't want to own a house because you don't want to be have to take care of the property.
No.
You think there's a ton of people in the city of Pittsfield looking for $3,000 a month apartments?
Yes.
Really?
I know it for certain.
How do you know it for certain?
The
Please.
market's there, and 30% of a starting engineer's income is $2,500.
Does that mean that that's what you?
A lot of them want a
pay?
quality unit
Well,
because they're coming from college
you can get a
apartments.
quality unit at $2,000 to $2,500. When we start to go over $2,500,
Oh yeah, it does get a little bananas.
Where can you find $3,000
You just seemed
in
very,
Pittsfield?
very, very confident that there were. You seemed very factual that there was a lot of people looking for $3,000 a month plus apartments in
$3,000 plus.
Pittsfield.
$3,000 plus gets a little bananas, but like
Right.
$2,000 plus,
That's what
yes.
we were calling luxury just now.
Yeah.
though.
Where
So-
are they?
2,000 right here.
So
this
luxury
is about
2,000 or more.
Yeah, I would say this is about 18 right here, right? This is almost exact to like the reports graph. You did really good job, Slater.
Nice job.
Thanks.
Nice job. on
But
your
so,
graph.
okay, what happens in the market from there? You have all these people who need affordable housing.
Right.
having-
So that's
being
White
forced-
Terrace on the left.
Yeah,
Ask.
yeah, something around $700.
Right.
Good example.
Unless you have these people who need these units that don't exist, having to pay $1,000 or more, right? They're buying these, and who are these people buying? They're buying it also. So we have this conglomerate of about almost
everybody's
right on.
competing for those
Yes,
$1,500.
$1,400 to $1,800 a month apartments that are now, since they're all the same price and there's not enough, the whole quality gets brought down. The price gets pushed up because everyone wants them, and the quality goes down because they can.
So the solution is to keep having companies,
Fill both sides. You cannot fill both sides.
but
enough.
they're disproportionately being filled, right? I mean, with this new Allegrone building, they're talking about 9 affordable houses, and I mean, I don't remember the
23
number. Do
total.
you remember the number?
Yeah, I don't think it was 9.
Yeah.
But it was not a
Affordable.
50-50
19
proportion.
market.
Definitely
Yeah.
not.
Because developers want to make money.
Yeah.
So
Rightfully so.
19 market for affordable. There's another discussion, remind me of, about the mandates to that. There's funding mandates, and if you're building in Pittsfield, we have a law. It has to be at least 20%, and the place they're getting the money from, it cannot be any more than 20%. So it has to be 20%. Put a pin on that.
Yeah.
You have to thread the needle, which is not great for people to want to come and figure that out to develop.
You're in the Howard building, yeah?
No,
No, you're no.
Oh no,
okay.
right on North Street.
How many vacancies are in the Noda? building?
0.
Okay, 0. That's
For
for
housing.
yes.
Yeah, you might see
That's
them posted
interesting.
on the website, but they're
Yeah.
like, it's probably just enough to paint them.
Do you
and
know
whatever.
them? The neighbors you talk to them?
Oh yeah.
Where
I
do they
know.
work?
I've gone to every single door in my.
Oh, that's
building.
great. Where do they work?
Well, he was running for public office.
If I had to guess,
great.
probably a quarter work at GD. There's a decent bit of doctors, a decent bit of work from home. Some in Lee. I know the ones next to me. One's a physician and one works in Lee. I've seen a number of faces. It's weird because we're engineers. They don't say hi to me, but they recognize me from work. I can see it in their eyes. But they're my age and they work at GD, or there's older guys who work at GD, largely GD, the hospital. And I see a guy with a Lenco sweatshirt when he walks his dog. So yeah, they're working at the companies that we say. And a decent bit of remote too. I sold it is a funny story. I would sell these Herman Miller desk chairs, these nice desk chairs. I found them on Facebook Marketplace for like $60 a pop. They resell for.
I was just gonna say.
They resell for like $300 or $400,
Yeah.
and I would sell them. And every time they'd come in, I'd ask, "What do you do buying a $400 desk chair?"
Yeah.
And they'd always say some like either remote computer job, and I'm like,
Yeah.
"Where do you live?" And they're like, "Somewhere in," they'd say somewhere in Pittsfield or somewhere in the Berkshires. And I'm like, what? So we actually do have we're a beautiful area. We do have a decent bit of remote as well.
You said
Oh,
Lee.
for sure.
You said some people.
Yeah, this one guy's my neighbor, works in Lee.
Why does he choose Pittsfield?
I think his girlfriend or fiance, I don't know what they are, but
Gotcha.
I believe she's a doctor.
I
Physician.
texted the mayor. I was like, I'm just trying to find a vacancy number on the Allegrone apartments. Like I just didn't know. Cam tells me a big fat 0, and I was surprised.
In one building.
No.
They don't have any vacancies in any of their tenant buildings?
Is the Howard building?
Any of the Pittsfield buildings. I think they have
Yeah.
one up in North Adams. I don't know much about it.
Yeah, there's one in Lennox too, the Walker Residences.
Yeah, the Walker, that's what it
Alex Allegrone owns the Walker Residences in Lennox. So the Wright building rate is going up, and then now they're going to do. So these are expected to fill. I mean, obviously, they wouldn't be revamping them if they weren't going to fill them, But retail's another story.
Retail is another story.
It's 6 spots here, 4 spots here.
Right.
Who the hell's going to go in there? North Street isn't full.
Yeah. So there's a question, and this gets back to the business case, is it's hard to build the units because the cost of construction and this and that. It's not super profitable. You have to put public money in to get them over the line for it to be profitable. But then that money's going into the housing. They don't usually develop out the commercial space as much because you'd think some other business with their own business case would put some money up to develop out that unit. And so, Allegrone doesn't always develop out their commercial space completely because the money's not there. There's not enough, and this is the second and third order effects, there's not enough people in the city and there's not enough money moving around in the economy for there to be enough businesses. And any businesses that are here don't have enough money to reinvest into their space to fill those commercial spaces without Allegrone building out the space, or any of these companies building new buildings to flush out and design the space to some business that still might just flop in 3 years. Like 50% of businesses die in the first 3 years. And so it's a huge risk that would have to be borne by the landlords or the building owners, and the money's just not there, so they don't do it.
So is it right for the city to let them to continue to develop buildings that will be profitable on the residential side of things and get, in this case, a sizable tax break?
Yeah, no, I don't think
without holding them to having to do something with these empty retail spaces.
Yeah, no. And I think this is something that everyone missed. Like, as they were building these buildings that are now empty in the commercial spaces, like the Enoda and the Howard, I believe no one saw COVID coming. And that kind of blew up a ton of the commercial real estate industry, period. Businesses went remote, and then there's more empty spaces, and it craters rents. And so it kind of dorked up the economics that was planned pre-COVID, now post-COVID. And so now post-COVID, it seems that they are considering that. They're building less commercial space and instead making the commercial space rental space, making the spaces smaller so that smaller incubator businesses that are more characteristic of what Pittsfield has for businesses to fill them out. And because they're building less commercial space, they're able to invest more in the quality of that space and flush it out for businesses. So the Wright building is one of those examples. They're doing a first floor residential unit. So they'll be on the floor with a patio, I believe, into that back parking lot. And so then they kind of cut that first floor in half. I don't know if it's exactly in half, but instead of doing the whole first floor being commercial, it's like half the first floor being commercial. So then they can put that money into it so that a business can just jump in without so much investment up front from them. And it's a smaller space, so it's not like they're in this massive empty room.
Yeah. We'll end it on where you like to eat.
Oh yeah, give us your
Pittsfield.
reps.
You're new. You've been a city councilor for
Berkshire County.
2
Doesn't
months.
have to be Pittsfield.
Berkshire County's fine.
There's good restaurants.
23 years old.
I largely eat in Ward 2. It's like I'm almost Ward 2 fanboy.
Nice.
I'm like a Ward 2 fanboy.
Hey, put your money where your mouth is. I respect that.
He's all
where are
Ward
you
2.
going? Yeah, you also have some good restaurants.
Yeah, I do. My number one place, if I had to look up all my receipts of where I've gotten food, number one would probably be Otto's. Love it there. It's one of my favorite places to meet other political people to have breakfast.
Yeah.
Chicken and waffles. Just the perfect breakfast for a guy like me.
They are known for that. For a guy like
love it.
For a guy like me, I'm a chicken and waffle guy.
Yeah. And then Hot Harry's on Tyler Street. I wouldn't usually eat though. I would just go in and get a bowl of cheese.
Yeah.
Just
bowl of cheese.
Just the queso?
Yeah. I was actually so bad the one on North Street knew me, where they'd start scooping it when they see me walk in.
You're like, that kid's here for his queso.
Yeah, then I had to stop. At that point, it was a little too bad. I thought they were going to call a wellness check.
I don't want to be the queso guy. There's worse things.
And I like Angelina's.
Where do you get your haircut?
I get it cut at Frameworks Collective, I think it's called. It's down on the other side of North Street, down by
Frameworks. There's a barber in there.
I go to a hairstylist.
Yeah, don't disrespect his hair.
Yeah.
I go to Franklin on North.
Go ahead, keep talking.
But I didn't realize there was a stylist in Framework.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I used to go to Abbey Cutters on my side of the street.
Oh yeah.
But I think I needed a woman's touch on my hair.
Yeah.
We don't always have the best opinions.
Is your shopping, eating, spending habits, is it by design that it's mostly in Ward 2, or you just like to walk from your apartment?
Kind of like when I go out to eat, especially lunch and breakfast, I try to go in Ward 2.
Yeah.
It's made easy because they have good places.
Yeah.
And then and I have a lot of the plazas. So like a lot of grocery shopping I do there. I don't count that as local engagement.
Well,
But like I build I'm a computer guy. I built a gaming computer. Where did I buy my graphics card? North Street.
yeah.
I was talking to someone today. It was called Phone Bros.
Oh yeah.
They're like halfway down.
We had the Quick Fix dude on the other day, last week, so a couple weeks ago.
Oh, Tyler, right?
Yeah. You told me you had reached out to him.
Yes. Well, I was with the mayor in Boston, and I was furious to see what happened to his business. Of
course.
So that you'll be seeing communications from me, hopefully with a solution for the crime problem in Morningside in North Street.
All right.
Strong opinions there.
There he is.
Well, thanks for coming on and chatting with us,
everybody.
Cam.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Nice.
Thank you so much, guys.
All right, man.